The Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 17th chapter. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" And he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. I believe that God has created me together with all that exists. God has given me and still preserves my body and soul, eyes, ears, and all limbs and senses, reason, and all mental faculties. In addition, God daily and abundantly provides shoes and clothing, food and drink, house and farm, spouse and children, fields, livestock, and all property, along with all the necessities and nourishment for this body and life. God protects me against all danger and shields and preserves me from all evil. And all this is done out of pure fatherly and divine goodness and mercy, without any merit or worthiness of mine at all. For all this I owe it to God to thank and praise, serve and obey him. This is most certainly true. In Luther's explanation of the first article of the Creed, there are echoes of Deuteronomy, reminders of all that God has done for each beloved child of God. Deuteronomy: "When you have eaten your fill and have built fine houses and live in them, and when your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, then do not exalt yourself, forgetting the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness, an arid wasteland with poisonous snakes and scorpions. He made water flow for you from flint rock and fed you in the wilderness with manna that your ancestors did not know, to humble you and to test you, and in the end, to do you good." Several years ago, during men's Bible study here on a Saturday morning, one of the participants noted that often when things are going well, we tend to congratulate ourselves. And when things are going poorly, we wonder what God is up to. The reminder this evening is that whether things are good or things are challenging or difficult, or, well, the people of God are to remember the work of the Lord for our good. It is a call to gratitude. In 12-step programs, the encouragement is to begin the practice of daily gratitude lists, especially in times when things are the most bleak. Early in my ministry, I was facing a particularly challenging time. Allegations had been made that a Sunday school teacher had molested children. There were ways in which that community of the congregation was struggling to define its way forward. Much weighed on me. Now, I had the practice of meeting with a spiritual director, a Benedictine sister at a nearby monastery. And in our conversations, I would recount all the challenges that were before me. I named the ways that I was feeling burdened. Somehow, though, in that conversation and in her grace-filled responses, I came to recognize God's presence in those shadow times, in those difficult times. Martin Luther calls these conversations mutual consolation and conversation among the faithful. In the meeting of Christians who share their concerns, their sorrow, their loss, their burdens, there is an opportunity to share also God's compassion, love, forgiveness, and grace. I'm not going to lie. With crop prices what they are, and with the wind damage of a few weeks ago, with all the ways that this growing season just went sideways, as a preacher, I am mindful that trite platitudes are a dangerous place to go tonight. In reality, they are rarely helpful. And yet, tonight, this community hears a call to gratitude even in the difficult places. The call to remember that God is God and we are not. This is a gift of grace in the difficult and in the challenging. And so, like the lepers who approached Jesus in our gospel reading tonight, we gather to encounter Christ. We hear the promises of God's love and grace. We're reminded of God's providence and desire for our good and for our well-being. And we steel ourselves to say thank you. We come to the Lord with thanksgiving for the many ways that God continues to provide for us. We come to the Lord with thanksgiving, aware of the gifts of grace that is shared at this table. We come to the Lord with thanksgiving, mindful of the relationship and the relationships that sustain us day by day. We come to the foot of the cross and entrust all our cares to the Christ who comes to us in the difficult times and provides for our needs. We give thanks that God has given us and still preserves our body and our soul, eyes and ears and all limbs and senses, reason and all mental faculty. Thanks be to God.